But first up, it saddens me to say this, but there are certain sections of our political and bureaucratic class in this country who are ashamed to be Australian. They criticise the country we have become, they're shameful of our past, and frankly, they're probably better off not being here. Let's take the controversial tweet by Victoria's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Annaliese van Diemen, who compared the arrival of Captain Cook to the coronavirus pandemic. Here's what the tweet said. Sudden arrival of an invader from another land, decimating populations, creating terror, forces the population to make enormous sacrifices and completely change how they live in order to survive. COVID-19 or Cook, 1770. Now, her comments have sparked plenty of outrage, especially from Conservative politicians. Senator Erica Betts told this program last night that the comments were ill-informed, ill-judged, and an example of the woke brigade's left-wing crusade. Liberal MP Tim Smith said she'd simply lost the plot. Former Victorian opposition leader Matthew Guy said it was evidence that Victoria was now being run by left-wing nutters. But Victoria's Health Minister, Jenny Mikakos, defended the tweet, saying she was doing an outstanding job protecting Victorians from this deadly pandemic. So too did Chief Medical Officer Brendan Murphy. Here's what he had to say.
She's a fine young public health physician who's been working 80 hours a week for the last 2 months. She made a personal tweet, and that's a matter on her personal Twitter account. That's a matter for her. I don't personally concur with her view, but I think that's a matter for her.
Well, I've got a lot of time for Brendan Murphy. He's probably my top candidate for Australian of the Year, but any tweet is a public tweet, Brendan, and she has to take the consequences of what she says publicly. Now, I'm sure the Deputy Chief Medical Officer, as you say, as Brendan Murphy says, is doing a fantastic job protecting Victorians from the coronavirus. Her medical qualifications here have never been questioned. But what people are angry about is her rewriting of history and comparing the man who discovered Australia with a deadly virus. Now, if you're going to defend your Deputy Chief Medical Officer for protecting people's lives, surely you need to give her a whack for trying to politicise the greatest health threat of our lifetime. The fact is, Ms Van Diemen has shown an appalling lack of emotional awareness and judgment by tweeting that particular rubbish. She should be staying in her own lane, not pandering to the woke brigade, not pandering to the Balmain set or the St Kilda set or the Paddington set here in Brisbane. All that tweet does is confirm the stereotypical belief that Victoria is being run by the left of the Labor Party. You can't play golf there at the moment, you can't fish there, and while the rest of the country eases COVID-19 restrictions, Victoria remains shuttered. And the people making these decisions are people like Annaliese van Diemen. Of course, she should be sacked, but she should be told to pull her head in. But in Victoria, that sort of behaviour will be rewarded under the Andrews government. Expect her to become the Chief Medical Officer anytime soon.